we have a guest. For me, it's a very special guest that is going to make master class here in the university today. Is Professor Jerome Enrico, that has a large career in the cinema and in the teaching, in a school who is the master or the
Director.
the director. And I'm supposed to ask some questions, but I don't think I don't need, because Jerome is also an old friend, and I believe that he knows more or less what I'm going to ask. So, welcome, Jerome.
Thank you.
We are very, very glad to have you with us.
And I'm very pleased to be with you in Lisbon.
Thank you. I'm special honored to be in this position, to be here talking to you about this world that we love and that we have lived in our last years. So, how did you start your career?
Well, I start being a first assistant director and in the same time a producer of shorts. So we had a small production company, and with this company we made some shorts and a first long feature film, L'Homme sur les quais, which was an Haitian movie. And in the same time, I worked as a first assistant director to win money, to be able to live, because it was not so good job, you know, for to get money. I mean, the producing and all that stuff. And I worked on different movies, and at the end of my career of first assistant AD, I made two very important movies. One was La Reine Margot with Patrice Chéreau, which was a huge movie with 3 years of preparation and shooting and a very big deal. And then, like I did this movie, I got many offers of huge movie, and especially from Robert Altman and Michelangelo Antonioni. And so I was thinking, is these two guys gave me the test to make movies and to work in the cinema business, so I have to make this movie. So the one with Antonioni didn't work, but the one with Robert Altman, Prêt-à-Porter, I was the first assistant, and it was the last movie on which I was an assistant. And then I started working at the television as a director and a scriptwriter, and then at the cinema.
That is back in the 90s, 80s?
Yes. Yes, I started to be a director in 91, I think, and I was an assistant director just before, of course, and La Reine Margot was in 91, so it was the moment it changed.
It's curious, because it's exactly when I started to be a director. It was in 1991, and 8 years before I was assistant director too.
So the same life.
Yeah, it's more or less the same line of development of our careers. So, when do you start teaching? When do you start being interested in teaching?
Well, at one moment, 12 years ago, a very important private school in Paris asked me if I was interested to give some lessons about scriptwriting and directing. And it was a moment of my career difficult. I made a first feature, I think 10 years before, 8 years before, and it was difficult to make another one. I worked during this period at the television, you know, for the television, serials and things like that. And at this moment it was difficult, and I was writing scripts, and they asked me if I was interested by that. I said yes, I think it could be interesting, and I started working with students, and I really enjoy and loved this work of transmission. I think at this moment I understood some things about me teaching to them. And I was really, it was really great for me. And I did some workshop to be able to work with the students. And from this workshop of scriptwriting, long feature films, serials, during 5 years, there was many projects who get outside of this. And one was my new last movie, let's say, Paulette, with Bernadette Lafont, which was the last movie of Bernadette Lafont. And in France, it was really successful. And I am impressed to be there because the first premiere of this movie was in Lisboa,
Oh, yeah?
in the São Jorge
São Jorge, yes, okay.
cinema, because
Yes.
it was a French film festival there. And it was the first time it was released was there. And so this script, this film, was written by my 3 students, and they are the scriptwriters with me. And like the film was really successful, they won a lot of money. They were very happy to start their life in the movie business like that.
Your school is École Supérieure
The school is ESSEC, which
ESSEC.
is École Supérieure d'Études Cinématographiques, and it was founded in 1973, so 45 years. It's
Okay.
45 years old, and I started to be a teacher in this school, and 7 years ago, the former director leave the school, and so at this moment someone asked me if I would like to become the director. I say why not, but I want to continue my job, which is to be a director of movie and a scriptwriter.
Okay.
So I try to manage both careers. Let's
How
say.
do you evaluate the developing of your students from when you start 12 years ago until now? Do you have any? Here we, as is normal, we have we are sure that our students have an evolution and a development mainly after the digital. They are not still digital natives. They are also emigration to digital. They are not natural digital yet, but they are between. So we have experienced new mindsets, new tastes, new conceptions of aesthetics and storytelling. How is it in your school?
Well, at the very beginning when I arrived in this school, it was a very technical school. Successful because something like 90% of the students getting outside of the school are working in the movie business or in the television business, or so that's the reason why it's so well known. And at this moment, when I started to teach scriptwriting and directing, it moved the school to more creativity, let's say. And at the very beginning, I was supposed to teach about the character, the way we manage the stories, and when we after when the films were shot, we saw the movies, and it was I say well, it's not possible to continue like that. We have to give them lessons about the way to direct an actor, to work with an actor. And step by step, the school moved to more and more and more creativity. But since a long time, there is many directors who get outside of our school, French, but also from China, from Taiwan, from Asiatic cinema, you know. And of course, we have many students going there because we are the country of the new wave, you know, and they want to about the auteur movies, and that's the reason why they join us.
Yeah, because in France you have a strong legacy in cinema. Sometimes these boundaries that are a little bit more difficult to break than here in Portugal, where we have a special development in cinema and television, very Portuguese, with some benefits and some non-benefits. And one of the things that I think is important in this university, at some of the teachers, they can combine professional life with academic life. How do you combine your professional development career with your being a director of such an important school?
It's the same story. All the teachers and me, and we are working both in the movie business, or television business, and at the school, in the school. So sometimes some of us are not available, so they are replaced by other professional who comes, and that. But it's very interesting, I think, for the students, because they have just in front of them people who are making this job, now. Not it's not an old story we are telling. It's now, and it's not so difficult, because I'm working on many projects with the students, and some of them became movies. I just say. And so there is a connection between. I try to make with this school a kind of laboratory, of ideas, of things we can try, and so it's the way I am working. I restart to make movies, because I was surrounded by young students with their creativity, and we work together. And I'm a very. I like this to mix this to come with my experience and other directors with their experience, and to mix with the creativity of the young students. I think it's a good deal between youngers and us. Well, a little bit older.
Yeah, that's more or less what we think here. I was asking, it's you that has such a responsibility, being the director of the school. It probably is more difficult for you to combine both things than a normal teacher.
I have a wonderful team working behind me. Of course, this year we are changing one more time the second year of studying. With more lessons and courses about the way to work with actors, and it's a big deal to change all that stuff. But they are working. We are a small crew, but very, very connected, And the funny thing, the pedagogical director, Bruno Edbert, was the producer of my first movie. So it's like a small family, And we are all working together, and it's not so big deal. It's half and half. I think I try. Sometimes I disappear because I'm going to make my movies, and sometimes I am there full time, and it works.
How many students?
We have 300 students, about 300 students, and each promotion around 100. We have 3 years of studying.
Like we have here, 3 years. And it's more or less kind of the number that we recruit each year to.
We don't want more because we have more possibilities, but we don't want more because we want them to work when they get outside of the school. And there is no, of course, France, we have a very protected industry, and we are lucky. But we want them to be able to find a job getting outside of the school. And if we had more, I think we were not capable to bring them to the movie business.
Yeah. I remember that we were both in a school in Bombay,
yes,
in Essling Woods, that has 6,000 students.
Yes.
And you say that we are lucky that we don't have 6,000 students. You can imagine how lucky we are that we were.
We are really lucky, I think.
Very really talent guys, the students, and we don't have 6,000 to teach. And as you know, in India, you notice that it was people very interested and so on, very competitive, and with the archaic system of Bollywood. Do you remember when we visit that studio and so on?
Bollywood, yes.
Yes, in Bollywood, it was very, very funny.
Yeah, and it's always, we have many connection, with the school has many connection with China. And sometimes when we are speaking with universities in China, they say, well, we are going to make some exchange. We send you 3,000 students next year. I say, come to see the school, it's not possible.
They say the Chinese, they're going to
Yeah,
send you
3
3,000.
times. I have a Chinese delegation coming in my, and they say we can make exchange. You send students to China, and we send you 3,000. What are we going to do with 3,000 students?
It's true. It's true. It must be a difficult situation because I don't know. 8 years ago, I gave classes in Dublin. And I went to a film school, and it was only Chinese. And they barely could speak English. So I don't know if they understood what I was saying. And then I spoke with the director of the school, and he said, I have no place for Irish, because I have this full of Chinese. Because when they sent 300 Chinese. It was a small school. Well, Jerome, it's, how do you plan your professional career? We know a little bit how do you manage with your academic career and dealing with the organization and the lectures in the school.
I try to wake up very early in the morning and then to work on my scripts and to prepare the future, let's say, and the different projects I am working on. And at midday, I try to go to the school to see what we need to do and what are the questions. And one more time, all this very wonderful team calls me when they need something, or today I'm there, they are working. On Monday, it's the first day of the school, opening of the school, you know. And but it works.
Are you preparing a project? Or?
Well, I am preparing. I have different projects, you know. As my father said to me before, my father was a director, and he says to make one film, you need to have 10 projects. So I try to do the
I used to say that to my students,
and
for each project I produce or I direct, I have 10 that will never be seen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's something very impressive for me. When my father passed away, we received from his agency all the contracts he had signed during his life. It was 123 movies, and he just did 22. So the proportion.
Do you usually work with the same producer, or do you produce yourself?
The 2 last movies were produced by Alain Goldman, who is now also the producer of Polanski, J'accuse, and La Môme, and now I don't know. Maybe I have some projects with La Gaumont, who was also the distributor of the movie, and I'm also working with Fabienne Servan-Schreiber, Ciné TV, with more on the television for a special project I'm very involved in, and I think it's a small film. And we can do it with it's not the test or the feeling with of Alain Goldman.
Do you have a substantial increase with money from television going to the cinema, or do you finance the cinema completely independent without?
It's very difficult. The trouble we have now in France is the cinema was financed by television, by the national channels, and also the private one, TF1, M6, and now it's going to change. And also Canal Plus, who was the great financial, you know, the cinema. And so we are a little. It's now we have a lot of problem of how we are going to finance the movies. Do we need to ask money from the platform, you know, like Netflix or things like that? And it's a big deal and a great discussion between all the actors, producers, directors, governments, but I think now we have about 250 movies produced each year for the cinema, which is a huge number, yeah. And we are afraid that it will become maybe one, it will be less because there is no more money, or the trouble is that they are produced with no money, with not necessary money, you know, and so it's difficult. And we are fighting against this idea that the cinema must be rentable, you know, and we think it's not an industry like that. It's a prototype industry, and we have to make maybe 2, 3, 4 films for one who is going to work, or and so it's a big deal and a great discussion now in France.
How do you see in France and yourself this increase of the influence of the platforms like Netflix, Amazon, Fox?
Well, I think we are a little bit afraid, like
you are afraid of what? Of that? It's not going to
of the possibility, you know.
The budgets will go down to
in France.
produce,
we are so protected, you know, and we would like to keep this protection and the financial system of avance sur recette, which is very special, you know, and we are the producer or the co-producer of many movies in Europe and around Europe, you know. So we would like to protect this, and we know that if all the movies and the producer start to sell their soul to Netflix or some platforms, we'll lose everything, you know. There is no more no possibility to be independent, to make some special movies, to make it's kind of, and it's a big problem, big deal, and so that's the reason why we start to speak with the platforms, with Netflix. Netflix is going now to be closer and closer to Canal+. Yeah. We don't know what is going to happen now, but
how many? Here in Portugal we have a problem. We are one of the European countries that less people go see national films. Our percentage of Portuguese that go see Portuguese films, I am not even going to tell you because I'm ashamed. How is it in France?
40%.
How many?
40%.
That is fantastic.
Yes, that's fantastic, and we have twice or three times more audience in the theaters than just after the war. So it's great, and we want to protect that. But of course, with Netflix, with the platform, with the television, it's a trouble, you know, and that's the reason why we would like that these platforms finance a little bit this cinema, this cultural exception we have in France, and we try to make it in Europe.
Okay. Jerome, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, George.
It's an honor and a pleasure to receive not only a great director, a great academic, and a great friend in this studio of Lusófona. So I'm very glad that they choose me to make you these questions. Thank you very much, and be very welcome to Lisbon.
Thank you very much. I'm very pleased to be there.
Thank you.